Chief Exec Chairman Exeter. That's because nobody else wanted to do the job. I was asked 20 years ago to how do we get the club back into a vibrant sporting organisation back in 1983. No, I'm telling lies. Was that? I can't count up. 93. We actually got some local businessmen to start advertising and putting some money into the club, and then along came professionalism, and we needed to move the club on again. So we, under my guidance, disbanded the old rugby committee and formed a limited company with a board of directors and commercialised everything and brought in lots of business interests within the city, and then moved to sold our old ground, moved to a new stadium, an ambition for the Premiership and Heineken Cup, and I suppose the rest is history. Here we are.
And in terms of the business of rugby, what's sort of the most important figure for Exeter, or the most important key performance indicators in terms of what you look at on the business side of Exeter? On the business side of Exeter,
a new stadium. We tried we want to try and run a business that can actually return a profit each year and also be able to perform on the pitch, perform successfully within English rugby and within European rugby. So we've created a model which is a banqueting and conferencing facility that adapts for rugby the 15 times a year, and the conferencing and banqueting produces about a fifth of the turnover, and that pays for all the overhead. And then the rugby, and it also provides a facility, so when we have a big rugby day, we have acres of space, so we can get lots of corporates along, and sponsors who want to entertain, and so the two go very much hand in hand, and that's our driver, is to actually increase our conference and banqueting facility, which will enable us to increase our rugby facility, and gradually that will increase our revenues, increase our ability to perform better on the pitch, and so the whole thing goes round. That's the plan.
And obviously you've just been doing a workshop on promotion, relegation, minimum standards. What do you think on the business side of rugby is the biggest challenge the sport faces?
The biggest challenge the sport faces is to actually get the, we have a massive opportunity. 2015 coming up, World Cup Rugby is in England, and where are we going to play most of the warm-up game? Most of the games are going to be played at football stadium, because we haven't invested enough money in rugby union, in the rugby union infrastructure, and so I'm a great supporter of minimum standards. That we've got to drive our facilities forward. It's no good spending all your money on the pitch. You've got to balance it off with, if you provide a decent facility, you get a lot of spectators coming along. When we moved from our old 125-year ground to Sandy Park, we doubled our gate. And we didn't do that because we played any better rugby. We doubled it because we had a great facility and people wanted to come there and enjoy it. And the game's got to get hold of this, and it's missing that at the moment, that you've got to drive the facilities forward along with the game on the pitch.
And this could be, I suppose, the other side of the same coin, but what would be the biggest threat to the sport at the moment? Is it just if they don't...
I think the biggest threat is itself. Do you understand? We've... Premier Rugby, look after their own part of the sport and drive it forward. But I really believe that the RFU should take more responsibility in looking after the semi-professional sport and the rest of it. And our threat is that we miss this opportunity in 2015 to really develop the game and end up with a legacy. We want a legacy from it. We want something from it.
And in terms of the minimum standards, obviously primacy of tenure gets talked about a lot. Is there one specific thing that if you could have that input into the minimum standards, what would be the key focus, do you think?
The key thing to put into the minimum standards? The financial ability of the club to survive. and it's something I know that the French do. And one of my biggest moans is about clubs that try and become semi-professional and can't afford it, and when it goes tits up, the guys run away, and the support. The players always go off and get another job, and you leave the supporters that could have been a supporter all his life, is left with no rugby club, left with nothing, and that's wrong. So that's something that should be in there, the financial ability of that club to sustain itself in the Championship or the Premiership.